Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Chris Winter and today I'm going to take a look at what's become one of my all-time favorite lenses, the Panasonic 20mm f1.7. I've been using this lens for about a year now and have absolutely fallen in love with its image quality and its size. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, make sure to check out my top 5 best value micro four thirds lenses list. I'll put a link in the description box below so you can check it out. But anyway, let's take a look at this fantastic 20mm prime. Let's first take a look at the build quality of this lens. Now, when you first pick up the Panasonic 20mm f1.7, you'll definitely notice just how small it is. Now, even though this lens does have a very wide f1.7 aperture, Panasonic have done a really good job to keep it down to a tiny size. There's not a whole lot of plastic on this lens either. With a metallic body and a metallic mount on the rear, it really does feel like it's going to hold up to many years' use. On the front, we've got a beautiful focus ring, which is incredibly smooth to turn, and it's something that I really love. Now, there is no image stabilization, which is kind of to be expected for a lens this small, and there's no manual focus switch, but that's because it's actually got full-time manual focus, which is always a nice touch on these lenses. Now, before I got my 20mm f1.7, my favorite focal length on a traditional full-frame camera was 50mm. But that's all changed now, and it's now 20mm. That equates to about 40mm on a full-frame body. And it's a great field of view for most shots, and it's fantastic for street photography. Now, just so you can get an idea of what the focal length is, here's what it looks like at 20mm. And just for comparison, this is what 12mm looks like on micro four thirds bodies, and here's what it looks like at 32mm. So for me, 20mm has been a happy medium for me, and it's my new favorite focal length. By the way guys, if you want to see plenty of sample images that I took with this 20mm f1.7, I'll put a link in the description box below and you can check it out. Let's now talk about bokeh, or the background blur behind your subject. I've had a blast shooting with this lens and it produces some really stunning bokeh. The bokeh itself is creamy, it's smooth, and it's not distracting, which is really good. Not only that, even at wide apertures, the shots are still tack sharp and you're still getting some lovely bokeh. I've got to say that I'm really impressed. The 20mm f1.7 has a minimum focus distance of around 20 centimeters, which isn't the closest focusing lens you'll find. But that's not to say you can't get some nice detailed shots with it, as you can see here as we zoom all the way into 100%. But to be totally honest, this isn't what this lens is all about. It's definitely not a macro specific lens, so there are some other lenses that you could look into for that. Now, if you read online, one of the biggest issues that people have had with this lens is its autofocus speed. And I've been using it for a year and haven't had any problems with it at all. I've consistently found that the 20mm f1.7 has very good autofocus speed at all apertures, comparable with my DSLR with a similar lens. The only time when I've had any sort of problems with the autofocus on this 20mm is in very low light conditions, and then generally what I do is just whack it into manual focus mode and shoot like that. So if you are worried about all the autofocus problems you read online, my word would be, don't worry about it. It is a really fast focusing lens and you'll love it. Let's quickly talk about video autofocus with this lens. So using the GM1, the video autofocus with the 20mm f1.7 isn't great. It's not super responsive, but it's definitely usable. As you see here, sometimes it'll actually hunt a little bit, and it's definitely not at the level of, say, my Canon 70D with a Sigma 30mm f1.4, but it can be usable if you're relatively slow with it. But for video autofocus, 20mm f1.7, you might want to use manual focus. So compared to other micro four thirds lenses, the 20mm f1.7 definitely isn't the cheapest. Currently B&H are selling it for around about $267, which is actually a really good price. And if you compare that to what Amazon's selling it for, they're currently selling it for $327. So you'll definitely want to look around if you want to find this lens at a good price. And I'd highly recommend checking out eBay or checking out Craigslist and getting it secondhand, because this lens is definitely going to hold up for a while. So if you can find it at a good price, just pick it up. So let's take a look at a few image samples that I've taken over this year that I've used the 20mm f1.7. So overall, I've been blown away with the image quality of this Panasonic 20mm f1.7. Now, even at f1.7, the images are incredibly sharp, and if you knock it down to around about f2, you're going to be getting some fantastically sharp images. There aren't many chromatic aberrations, and there's not a lot of flaring as well. But the biggest thing that I found with this lens is that it produces some fantastic color reproduction, and I really do love that. And even in lower light conditions, it's fantastic to have this f1.7 lens and this small little package in your pocket so you can always get that shot. So there you go guys, that was my review on the Panasonic 20mm f1.7. Now if you're even thinking remotely about purchasing this lens, I'd highly recommend you do it. It's been one of my favorite lenses, if not my all-time favorite lens. It's small, it takes beautiful photos, and it just looks really cool as well. If you guys like this video, I'd love it if you leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd love you to do that as well. And I also want you guys to have a fantastic day. See you in the next video. Bye.